Welcome to my ultimate Nirvana. This collaboration of Street Fighter Six's Akuma in Monster Hunter Wilds is tailor-made for Hito Singh, the Damage King. There is not a collaboration other than possibly a 16-player Godzilla that I possibly could have asked for over any other collaboration. I know you guys wanted Dragon's Dogma, but Akuma is Chef's Kiss Salt Bay for me. And because of this, you gotta know that I'm gonna go extremely in depth into this character. I've been watching everybody else's videos so far, and one of the most common themes I hear is this seems to be this seems to be that, but I'm not a Street Fighter 6 player. Well, Hito Singh, the Damage King, he's a Street Fighter 6 player. In fact, if you look at some of my other videos, I wish I could have clipped it into this video, but I replaced my PlayStation with a Pro. I have the videos for Street Fighter 6 Ryu and Akuma that show the max damage of his giant combos that came out within a week of the versions of the games when those characters were out, you know? This is my jam. This is what I do. I love fighters. I came into Monster Hunter World during the pandemic and I love the game. I absolutely love it. It's probably my most favorite game of all time, my most franchise. And it beat out Tekken and it beat out Street Fighter 6, so that's saying a lot. Knowing all of this, you got to know what I'm going to do with this character. I'm going to figure out the best build, and by best I mean the most highest damaging build I can make out of this. And thank you Hacks High and everybody in our Discord, Biggie, Mal, I'm sure you guys all, I missed out on the group that was experimenting, but I got all the end results and I tweaked it just a little bit for my flavor, but thank you so much for that information. But yeah, you're going to get the highest damaging builds. We're going to talk about the highest damaging combos and the best combos to do in every given situation. And we're going to talk about some secret techniques because as a Street Fighter 6 player, I know how the fundamentals and the mechanics of the game work. I know how you link your moves, and I know how you turn normals to specials to supers. All of that's coming up in this video. I hope you enjoy. Let's go beat some monsters up in the face. Okay, let's start with Akuma's most and highest damaging build, and this is going to be it. It looks a little weird, don't get me wrong, but I'll explain to you exactly why this is going to be the most damage for him. We're going to use the Guardian Resounding Galahad, and this is going to confuse a lot of people because the minus 10% affinity. Akuma does crit hit, so affinity is fairly important to him, but because of the slot usage we have with him and his armor, we have to be really economical about how we want to balance this out to get the most damage. So the first thing we really want is a high raw, and this has 230, not bad at all. The minus 10 affinity is a bit of a detractor, but what's a bonus for this weapon is the 2 level 3 slots and the level 1 slot, and that's going to allow us to do some things, but also it's the hunting horn. We're going to pocket horn. This has Horn Maestro, and we do have attack boost large as a song, and because when we have this weapon equipped and we're fighting with Akuma, although we're going to have a hunting horn strapped to our back, when we play self-improvement and when we play attack boost large, we get both of the offensive attack buffs that come along with that, and it's as if you're playing the hunting horn. They're going to last, 4.5, 5 minutes or so, rather than the 2 minutes as if you're normally pocket horning. So because of that, the attack boost large, and then having this slottage specifically, so you can slot the mixture of attack boost 4 and crit boost 3. With this, you're adding more raw to this weapon, including the songs, guys. This is why this is the highest damaging, is the attack boost large and the self-improvement, of course. But because of that and the slot usage, you're adding so much raw, you're making up for that minus 10% affinity. The way I had it described to me, and now I completely understand it, is in this game, having 1 point of extra raw is better than having 1 point extra affinity. So if we're going to lose out on 10% affinity, as long as I'm making up for that with more than 10 raw, 10 base raw, I'm actually coming out on top. And because the way we have things stacked up here, the attack boost large gives you a 5% damage increase, and then we have attack boost 4, which gives us plus 2% for your raw and plus 8 on top of that. So when you have a weapon that's 230, that's going to be like 5.5 plus 8 raw. So you're adding 13 raw just from the skills, plus the 5% from the songs. We got crit boost 3 in here, so the crit hits that we do, which aren't a lot because it's mainly based on maximum might and some agitator. So we're not going to do a whole lot of crit hits. That's why we don't need crit boost 5. But the way this is set up, because of that, you're going to get the most raw damage, and any other balance of affinity and raw or crit boost that you try to put in here with any other weapon, you're going to have less damage overall, mainly because what we can actually slot in here. You know, we want to have our 3 levels of maximum might. We want to have as much agitator as we can. We got the agitator charm, and then you have 2 3 slots. And I was putting Agitator 4 in here, and I think overall that probably is a tad bit more damage, but I can't stay away from that 1 level of chain burst because of the plus 8 that it adds for at least most weapons. And because of that, I get more damage because of this. I don't know if mathematically having Challenger 4 is better, but that 1 burst, I am noticing that because it only takes a few hits and all of his hits are multi-hit combos, so that burst is really easy to proc. Of my 3 1 slots that I'm going to use 3 Divine Blessing. That goes well with your Heroics, even though the Heroics is only at level 3, but that's still a plus 5% attack boost when your health is below a certain level, and plus 100 defense when active. So if you have Divine Blessing, it just helps, you know, in that situation when you have Heroics procced, it's not as much of a threat as it could normally be. The other 2 1 slots, I'm going to use a Shockproof just because I hunt with a squad, so I like to do that. And then really anything for the last one, anything that's convenient, recovery up, speed eating. I like Mire Walker because it takes the water and the oil out of the terrain as an issue. You can do adaptability, really anything you want for that last slot. The rest of this build is pretty much the same. Meta for this is going to be exactly this, with probably Challenger 4 instead of Burst 1 and Challenger 3. But I don't know, Burst 1 and Challenger 3 could be meta. It's going to be one of those two. But this is the weapon you want to use. And this is, of course, if you're not planning on actually using your main weapon, you're going to be using Akuma. This is exactly how you want to build them for maximum damage. I've tried a million different weapons. I tried an Ardian that had all attack and no affinity, no sharpness. You don't need any sharpness. Akuma doesn't use sharpness. His attacks don't use stamina, so definitely use maximum might. But because of the raw I'm getting on top with this weapon, with the songs and the slots, it just makes up over any other weapon you can put in this slot to try to boost your skills. Is there a higher damage option if you're going to main a weapon and not use the full Akuma set and just use the armor? I don't know. I don't think so. I think the most damage you're going to get out of Akuma is actually using his set, and this is the best way to do it. Okay, so now we have what components we need for the maximum damage that we can output. Let's talk about actually outputting that damage. Alright, let's start off with the basics of the weapon, of the character. I'm not going to go too much into this because there's a lot of guides, and a lot of this you can just figure out by just messing around. I really want to get into the finer, more advanced points in this video. You have a few controls that are now controlled by your bar down here. And then you're going to have a couple of emotes, the Shoryuken one specifically to do the Dragon Punch. I also like to put my Drive Impact here and an Optimal Recovery, because when I'm using Akuma, that's all I really need is those 3 things on a radial. I have other things on my radial, but that's the one I want accessible for Akuma. So basically, you got this Fireball. Once it's equipped, it works like a slinger ammo. You hold down your left trigger, you press your right trigger, you do a Fireball. If you hold down the right trigger, you do a slightly longer Fireball. Good point to also note is you have a teleport in this game. If you don't do a move and just dodge with X, you're just going to roll like normal. However, if you do any move first and then do left or right and X, you're going to do a teleport. And you can kind of link that together. By as long as it's any move and then a dodge, you'll always do the teleport, but if you don't do a move first, you'll always do a roll. Drive Impact, really easy to understand. Show it right here on the back right here. If you don't hit a wound, it's just a single hit that will offset. It's basically your offset attack. However, if you actually use it on a wound, it becomes your focus strike, which is Akuma's Raging Demon. Big damaging combo. We are going to want to figure out how to incorporate that into our gameplay as much as possible for its damage, and we will. That's the main things about the Drive Impact. That's why I have it on the radial, because I don't really use it for the focus strike. I'm going to enter it manually. We'll talk about that in a second. I primarily am using it as a offset attack. So it also does need to replenish. Once you use it for an offset attack or for a focus strike, it takes a little while and then it replenishes. But I like having it on my radial because I'm doing a combo, and instead of wanting to like finish the combo or maybe stop it somewhere in between, then I can just stop and do my Drive Impact with my radial like that, like so. Usually before you commit to a combo ender, but you can do it at the end of combos too, or whenever you see fit. Let's talk about the Dragon Punch. So there is a manual way to do the Dragon Punch. I just don't recommend ever even bothering with it. First of all, you have to do it in a combo. Probably won't even see me do it because I've done it like 3 times total. And I'm a Street Fighter player that on a good day, you put me on a D-pad, I do a Dragon Punch 99 times out of 100. On a joystick, like how you control Monster Hunter Wilds, I'm terrible at it. Absolutely terrible at it. Primarily because you need precise inputs, right, down, right, exactly. And on your joystick, you just tend to roll around that joystick. So you tend to hit right, and then you might get to down right and before down, and then go back to down right. So the inputs can really mess you up and just make it so you don't do it. But it's completely not needed. Because the point of the Shoryuken is it cancels the animations of many other moves. But you can do this quite easily just with your radial. Your radial will give you the same frame cancels that it would if you did it manually, and maybe even a little faster. So see how quickly that came out from that follow-up? So you never really need to use it because the radial version of it is so precise you'll always hit it, and because the manual version is going to be so imprecise that you might hardly never hit it, I really wouldn't even worry about doing it manually. But one thing we are going to want to learn to do manually is the Raging Demon. So we talked about how if you do a Drive Impact on a wound instead of the offset attack, boom, you get your Raging Demon. And the other way to do this, we're going to do it manually, is square, and then triangle and circle together. Just make sure this Drive Impact is actually active after you've used it before, or it won't work this way. But square, and see how I did that teleport? If that teleport hits a wound, you automatically go into your Raging Demon. Now, a lot of people are confused by this. They think, why are you doing it this way? What's the point of that? It's because Raging Demon is actually a manual input from the Street Fighter 6 or all Street Fighter days that has 2 inputs. Usually it's left punch, quick kick, and then forward and like right punch and quick kick together, something like that. So it's a convoluted input of 2 quick presses, a directional input, and then 2 buttons combined, and that's exactly what this is simulating. But we're going to come back into this because the manual version of the Raging Demon is going to be imperative to get gigantic combos. It's the only thing you need to learn to do with Akuma manually. Everything else you can do with the bars. Okay, so that's his basics. Now that we understand somewhat of his movesets, let's talk about all the optimal combos and situations that you're going to be confronted with, and what you want to do for quick punishes, long punishes, and absolutely massive punishes. And it all boils down to a Street Fighter 6 philosophy of how our moves interconnect with each other. In Street Fighter 6, your normals connect to your specials connect to your supers, and the same thing applies for this game, and this is how you truly want to use Akuma. Alright, it's combo time. So we got the assisted combo. This can seem a little complicated, but it's really not if you just remember, the third hit is what gives you your combo ender. Okay, so as long as you know that, you'll know how to manage with this auto combo. First, you can just hit square to do this combo, two punches with decent damage, and a large fireball. But you never really want to do this. That fireball is huge, 192 damage, but it's so slow and it locks you out of continuing other things to do behind it. Pretty much the only thing you can do once you're done with this is try to reposition yourself and try to get into offense again. So it kind of ends your offense. You don't really want to do that combo. The other versions of these combos is by adding a triangle or circle input. So what you can do is you can do square, square, and then triangle, triangle, triangle. And that gives you a nice little combo ender as well. So basically, you never want to do the third button press, whether it's square, triangle, or even circle. So let's say we did square, square, triangle, triangle, triangle for that combo, or you can do square, square, circle, circle, circle for your Tatsu combo. Okay? Or you can put it all together and do square, square, triangle, triangle, circle, 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 and get the first 2 hits of the square, the first 2 hits of the triangle, and then your whole Tatsumaki combo. And this is what we kind of want to do, mainly because the first 2 hits of your square are high damaging. The first 2 hits of your triangle are pretty high damaging, but the first 2 hits of your circle are not very damaging. You know, so to optimize a nice maximum damage window you have on a knockdown or something like that, and you want to get a really good combo, you want to do square, square, triangle, triangle, circle, 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 and then there's more. Because after every one of these finishers, no matter what we do, you can end it with a dragon punch, and we got way more to talk about too. There's so much more you can do too. I'm just trying to show you that you have these normals. That's your square and your triangle, but you know, you have to start everything off with a square. You got to do square something. You don't have to do 2 squares. You can do 1 square, triangle, triangle, or 1 square, triangle, triangle, circle, circle, circle. But you got to start it off with at least 1 square. But because the second square is so quick and it's a nice chunky damage as well, you might as always do square, square. You know, so you're going to do square, square into whatever, and then you have your options open up for your triangles and your circles. Once you get to your combo finisher, you can always add in Shoryuken, because it is the next step of the combo maker for Akuma. Normal, special combo ender, dragon mode. Alright, and there's way more we can do. But I just wanted to go over the basics of the weapon and the basics of the combo. Now let's talk about what's most optimal in every given situation, and let's see how much damage we can get out of these combos. Alright, let's go back to the manual Raging Demon. This sucker. So a lot of people think this is just like a short way, maybe get a couple extra hits in your combo, but no, it's way more than that. Raging Demon cancels from every single special move that you have. Every single. What's a special move? All right, we have Go Hadouken. It's one of your special moves. You see that? You see how I just canceled the fireball into a Raging Demon? That's because the square, square, triangle, plus circle input, actually it's square, square with some directional input. That's the key here. You can't just do square, square, triangle, circle together. It has to be, let me wait for my drive impact to come back. If you do square, square, just no directional input, you'll never get the manual version of the demon. You have to add a forward, left, right, it doesn't matter. Whatever direction you want to input for it, it just has to be some direction. Okay, let's show that one more time. I'm gonna hold left this time. I'm gonna do square, square, left, triangle, plus circle. I did a teleport to that side. I just missed a wound to be able to do it. So let's do forward. Oops. Simple enough, right? Okay, so basically what we're gonna do is we need to do that input before an animation finishes to be able to link it together. Sounds a little complicated. Honestly, it is a little complicated because this is what makes Street Fighter more complex for more advanced players, is being able to link all your moves together. But once you get the hang of it, what I'm going to do is during the animation of any special like this fireball, while the animation is happening, I have to hit square, square, a directional input, and triangle plus circle at the same time, and it will look like this. The inputs are being buffered during the animation, and the forward triangle circle has to come out kind of the moment you're able to act again, you know? So what I'm doing is during the fireball, I'm just mashing square, 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 square. As soon as I can act again, I'm hitting forward triangle at the same time. And this works for everything, not just your fireball. Check out this combo. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this combo. Square, square, triangle, triangle, triangle. And see how he has those 3 hits right there at the end? That's just automatic. During those 3 hits is when you want to start mashing square and then doing your Raging Demon. Oops. See that? I was mashing square, just mashing it over and over again during the animation of those 3 punches, and then when I was able to act again, I immediately hit forward, triangle, and circle, canceled out the animation. This also works for your Tatsu. So while I was doing those spin kicks, I was hitting square, mashing it, just mashing it, and then as soon as I landed and was able to act again, I hit forward, triangle, and circle at the same time. And of course, you're going to be able to do this with your Dragon Punch. See that? And this is how we play Akuma, is knowing that how his moves link and how we can put them together and how damaging we can actually make the combos. And let's go ahead and talk about the most efficient combos for every situation. This is your optimal quick punish. We're going to use the 2 squares for the chunky damage, and then your overdrive Tatsu ender with the circle, circle, circle is the highest damaging, the most stun inflicting, and it actually delivers some element as well. So for those 3 reasons, it is the optimal combo to do for a quick punish. When you have a slightly larger opening, you want to do your square, square into triangle, 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 into circle, 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 into Shoryuken, and maybe even throw out a offset afterwards because the enemy's usually attacking. Let's slow this down. This triangle, triangle, triangle opens up wounds a bit faster, and it has cancellation frames when you go straight into the overdrive Tatsumaki combo. When that happens, you're actually canceling some recovery frames from the triangle, triangle, triangle combo, so it makes it faster, more damaging, and the best to do in this situation. When you have a situation where you want to get the most damage out of one wound and end it with a Raging Demon combo, but you want to get a few hits in so you can add some more damage, this is the sequence you want to do. You want to do your square, square into your triangle, triangle, triangle combo and cancel that one into your Raging Demon. If you try to do the Tatsumaki, it's going to be too much damage and you're going to rupture the wound. And if you have too many buffs, you could rupture the wound, but that's generally the combo you want to do to max out that damage. And now we're just going for the biggest big boy damage we can. Square, 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 triangle, 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 circle, 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 Dragon Punch, follow up, cancel into the Raging Demon. The only time you can really accomplish this pretty consistently is there probably needs to be multiple wounds, because if you're aiming your Raging Demon for one wound at the end, you might end up destroying it with other parts of the combo, especially when the Tatsu starts happening. So when you have multiple wounds and you have a big enough damage window to do this, this is quite beautiful. 2071 damage. I have all my buffs and my food perks and the Hunting Horn and Counter Strike and even a Might Pill, so I am definitely looking to be Hitosing the Damage King on that one. But yeah, there's some truly high damage output that can be put out with Akuma. And finally, we've been talking about this video about cancels, and just remember, everything kind of cancels into something if you need it to. Here's the same combo, but instead of doing the Raging Demon because there were no wounds, we just did a regular teleport, started off with our squares again, and did the same loop, did another teleport, more squares. You can pretty much do that infinitely, and then just kind of vary your plan based on what the monster's doing. If you need to add an extra teleport to get out of the way, you know, these are much like the option selects in fighting games, much like in previous videos that I've discussed, and I'm just going to show this 2071 combo again. I just love it. It's absolutely beautiful. But yeah, this is how you're going to play Akuma. There's all these Street Fighter mechanics that they actually implemented in this game to make it wonderful. Let's go ahead and wrap up this video. And I'd like to offer you a very heartfelt thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a like, a comment, and a subscription would be awesome. I'd just like to thank the members of our squad, Zero Faints. There's a link in the description to our group. We are approximately 450 plus global hunters and gamers from around the world. that thoroughly love Monster Hunter World, but we're building other communities like Helldivers. Um, there's some Souls players, some Tekken players, some Street Fighter players, but we're just a community of gamers that love gaming. And when we get involved into a new aspect of a game like this Akuma launch, we're gonna go really deep into it and learn the type of things that you really want to know. And that's what I try to present in my videos. Everybody else is going to give you the basics of this character, but I always take my time. I'm never going to be the first person to release something, but I'm going to take my time, delve into builds, into playstyles, into skills, all these things, and try to bring you the best information, the most important, pertinent information that you might need for having fun. I don't really care about certain performances like speedrunning and things like that. I like to see big numbers and I like to have fun, and that's what you're always going to get from our content. Please join our group. We got many players that do stuff like this, and a lot of people come and go, but the more you get involved and just ask questions, if you want to hunt with someone, if you need advice on a build, if you need advice on a fight or a speedrunning tech like a certain opening or something like that. We got players that are beginners to literally world record chasers and everyone in between, and they're always looking to help. So many of us really enjoy helping new players. Other than that, I have my advanced longsword video that's going to come out this weekend. I'm sorry it took so long, but it was about 15 minutes, 16 minutes, and there was just a lot of information, a lot of details I really wanted to go into that I hadn't been able to go to. So I decided, because I've been trying to do some of these shorter videos, so I've decided that I'm going to just kind of lean more into my cup of tea and go into the more detailed, longer videos on this advanced guide. So it's probably going to be more like 30 to 40 minutes. I have pretty much everything done. I just need to do a few more voiceovers, and I'll have that out soon. I'm really looking forward to that one because that's going to answer a lot of questions that people have on things like how do I better perform my ISS or EIE slash Spirit slash. I'm actually going to try to say it. Everyone says ISS, but I'm going to start saying EIE, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not Japanese, but I try to pay respect anyways. So that's coming up, and there's plenty of other videos that are coming up as well. This one just kind of sidetracked me because he was new, and it's Akuma, and like I said, Ultimate Nirvana, and all that great jazz. Thanks for joining me again today. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please join us in our Discord, and we have way more coming. We have streams, we have videos, and lots of fun. Come be a part of it. Thanks again, and see ya.